What's up guys, it's Matt with BleepinJeep. In the last video I showed you how I go about bending tube. In this video I want to show you a little bit about notching the tube. So I need a piece of tube to go from here to here, but this is on a real steep angle, so you have to notch it just right so that they'll both fit like that. So I'm not an expert at that, but with some little practice you can get it just right. Let me show you how it's done. Alright, there you have it. One nice clean shiny tube. I'm just using sandpaper to smooth that out because I keep it outside and it gets a little bit rusty. Now it's nice and clean again. We're using DOM. This is 120 wall and we're ready now. Alright guys, so it's raining outside, that's why it's kind of loud in here, but I'm going to do the best I can do here. Now this tube needs to go right across here, and I've made this string line. The string line is right where the hood is going to go. So I want this second tube here to go right even with the top of that string line. So first take an angle gauge. We need to figure out this angle. So we're going to set the gauge here, and then we're going to eyeball that. And I think that'll do it. Right about there. Okay, so that's the angle that we need to notch this side at. So you can take your angle finder here that I showed you in the last video, and you can zero it out, and you can find that angle, which is at 38.5 degrees. But we don't really need to do that. All we need to do is take this over to the tube notcher. So let me show you that. Okay, so this is my tubing notcher. It's basically just a hole saw and a jig to hold the tube, and you put a drill on the back end of it and you can notch tube at any angle. Now if you don't have a tube notcher, you can do it without a tube notcher. Tim actually made a very good video on how to notch tube without a tube notcher, so I'll leave a link in the description below. But you can also use an angle grinder to notch tube, or a chop saw. But if you're going to be notching a lot of tube, I recommend getting one of these. This is the Sync Notch 180 Junior by Medford Tools, and it really comes in handy. So the way that we're going to do this is the angle that we need, and whenever you're making really steep angles, it's better to have a tube notcher, I think, than trying to do this any other way. So all we need to do is put this on here, and we're going to use it like a square. We're going to come out until this lines up with our angle finder here. Alright, so that's it right there. Sorry, I'm trying to work around the camera so that you guys can see, but it makes it a little awkward for me. Okay, so tighten that up. And that is the angle that we're going to notch the tube. So let me show you how this works. You just set the tube in here, you flip that down, you push it over, and then you line it up with the hole saw, and then you tighten it down. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay. Now normally you would want to cut, you wouldn't want to take and cut right into the middle of a tube with the hole saw. You'd want to cut this at an angle. Since we're doing a steep angle, you'd want to cut some of that off, but you don't have to. Let me show you how this works. so we're bottomed out here, and what that means is basically this piece of the tube is hitting the back of the hole saw. Now what a lot of people do will take a wrench or angle grinder and cut that out and then keep drilling, but there's a unique feature of this hole saw, or of this tubing notcher, and that's this little guy right here. Basically what you do is you pull this out until it's up against your piece there, and then you tighten it down with this little wrench. Now we can loosen it up. Okay, all we have to do is swing it around and line it up again on this side. Now we'll tighten it back down. I'll move this forward a little bit. And then we can continue cutting, and we'll be exactly 180 from where we started. That's why it's called the Sink Notcher 180. Alright, we're all done. What's neat about this notcher is you just loosen that up a little bit, flip this back, and it lets loose. You don't have to pull it out from the side, you can just pop it up from the top. Now anytime that you want a notch tube like this, you need to clean that up. So let me show you how to do that. You've probably seen me use this disc sander before, but this is where it comes in really handy. You don't want that to be thin right there. You want it to just be the width of the tube, an 1/8 inch. So we need to grind that down. We also want to put a bevel on the end of it so that when you weld it, you have a nice bevel for the weld to go into. This makes real quick work of it. Alright, there it is. This end is spot on. Now we need to mark for this end. So the first thing I'm going to do, it's a little bit different angle. So I'm going to put this on the tube over there where it fits. And then I'm going to measure, I'm going to mark what's perpendicular right here on the back of the tube. Okay. Now we need to mark for the cut. So we always want to cut long. You don't want to ever cut too short. You can always cut it shorter. So what we're going to do, I'm going to mark it right about here. We'll cut that out, come back, fit it, and then cut shorter as needed. One more thing I need to do is figure out the angle that we need to cut it at though. So to find the angle, it's just the same thing that we did over there. We're going to put this where the string is, this on the tube, line that up, tighten it down, and that's how we'll set up our notcher. One more thing that I always like to do so that I don't get it backwards is to mark the angle of the notch. So this isn't where I'm going to cut it, but I just want to know that that is the angle. It's going to be smaller on this end and larger opening on this end, just like the angle of this tube. Now there's a lot of different ways people notch tube, but this is how I do it. Okay, I've got the angle set up again. Right there, that's perfect angle. I'm just going to take a little bit off at first, then we'll come back and notch more out as needed. Now if you look right here, those are the lines that I made that are going to go with that other tube. So that needs to line up, needs to be what would that be, level with this surface. It needs to be level with the ground so that this notcher hole saw will come through. But let me show you another way to do that. So if you were making two notches on opposite ends of a tube that you wanted to be perpendicular with each other, you would take another piece of tube and set it in that first notch. Use your angle finder, zero it over here on your tube notcher. Okay, that's zeroed. And then you'd come over here and set that up at 0 too. So you would turn this tube until that was at 0. Now in my case, they're a little bit off. It looks like it's about 7 degrees. Instead of measuring for that, I just used those 2 marks that I made to eyeball it. It's not real particular there. I think eyeballing it will be fine. Okay, so I took it over there, I test fit it. Everything is perfect. It just needs to be a little bit shorter, probably a 1/2 inch, and we'll be good to go. So all you need to do is put it in there, line it up like that so you know you're correct, and then slide it in 1/2 inch or whatever. Tighten it down. We'll make another cut. Okay, here's what I was talking about before. I'm bottomed out right there, and all I need to do is pop one of these pieces out like that. I could also come around and notch from the back side, but when you're not on a steep angle like this, it's kind of easy just to do that. Let's check the fit. It's going to go right above that red line, right up to this green line. It's not perfect, but good enough. I'll go ahead and tack it up. One more thing before we're done, I forgot to mention about these little guys that when you notch tubing, these will fall on the floor, and you should probably pick them up because they will give you a bad day if those things go all the way through your shoes and into your foot. They're always in my shoes every time I'm notching. Well, alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Do subscribe and hit the thumbs up. Leave your comments below and let me know what you think about these videos. And do buy one of these t-shirts. You can find these and more t-shirts at the BleepinJeep store, bleepinjeep.com/store. We'll see you next time.